to the Leadership Intelligence Podcast. My name is Charles Rogel, and joining me is Matt Wride.
Hi, Charles.
Matt is one of the co-authors of the book, The Employee Experience, How to Attract Talent, Retain Top Performers, and Drive Results. And today we're going to talk specifically about Chapter 5 of the book, which is titled The Brand Contract. And Matt, in the book, to kind of introduce this concept, you talk about or provide a case study of the company REI, the sports equipment company.
Yeah, REI is a co-op. It's a Recreational Equipment Incorporated, headquartered in Seattle. And they did a bold move, not this year, but last year, on Black Friday, which is the Friday after the Thanksgiving holiday here in the United States, which is typically it's called Black Friday because it's the biggest shopping day of the year, and it's the day in which merchants finally go into the black.
Yeah, they make money.
They finally make money, and people like to shop that day in preparation for the upcoming Christmas season or holiday season.
And you can get the best deals.
Yeah, sometimes. Well, anyway, it's also a day that a lot of people have off. A lot of employers give both the Thanksgiving holiday and the day after Christmas off. If you're not a retailer or a merchant, you have that day off, and so it's a great day to get out and have fun. And REI recognized this and said, you know what, we're going to close our stores on Black Friday so that our people can be with their families and they can go experience what everyone else does. Right. You know, if you're here in Utah, you might have some snow, so you can try some cross-country skiing or alpine skiing, or you live in Phoenix and you might hit the golf course. I don't know.
Yeah.
But the reality was they wanted to portray that they were true to their brand.
Yeah.
And they did so. And in fact, they were rewarded with online sales that helped. And they did better than if they had been open. Their online sales went up, and they actually did really well. And they've continued that pledge this year. And so this last Black Friday, of course, they were closed again. And it's just a symbol to their employees and to their customers that they honor the brand that they want to portray.
So when you're talking about the brand, you're not necessarily saying the brand as a consumer would see it. It's the brand as the employee would see it, the employment brand.
That's definitely the viewpoint from which we're operating, no question. But, you know, it's interesting. Every relationship has a brand. I mean, when you sat down to date your wife, you had a brand. Mm-hmm. And
it was a pretty cool brand.
I'm sure it still is. And but you had a brand, and so every relationship has a brand. If you're just a line worker, you have a brand.
Yeah.
Or if you're an up and coming manager within an organization, you have a brand, a reputation. And the relationship between the employer and the employee has a really strong brand, and that you have to consider the message it sends. You have to consider how it impacts your ability to attract, how it impacts your ability to retain. Because if you attract but then you don't walk the walk, you may have an exit after 8 months, after the honeymoon period or something. So you have to be careful and aware of it. And I think it's really a call to employers to start considering it. There are companies out there who are really leading the charge in this area. Glassdoor would be an example of companies that are very aware of and helping give organizations data and insights into what this employee brand is all about, or employer brand. Because
as a potential employer, you're looking at the company and saying, okay, what is their employer brand all about for me, and do I fit, and does it align with my expectations?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's if your brand is working, then it's going to equate to commitment, the willingness for somebody to join your brand or to stay connected with you. You sort of get commitment out of when you honor your brand contract. And honoring a contract means being authentic to it, being aligned with the overt claims made. And when that happens, then you're going to get people wanting to join your cause.
So to evaluate your brand or to reinforce your brand, you describe this concept of this employee brand or value proposition.
Mm-hmm. Well, this is an area where I think we wing it. Leaders, even as we said, a team lead might have a brand. Mm-hmm. We just wing it. We just assume we know what our brand is, or that everybody gets it, or I don't have the time to work on it.
Yeah.
And it's something you can measure. You can measure through surveys and through talking to people, through feedback, and it's something that needs to be purposeful. And so we do recommend really understanding and taking the time to measure and figure out what your employee value proposition is, and then work on communicating and clarifying it if you need to.
Because employees have a perception of what your brand is independent of what you think it might be as an employer.
That's right. And I love the word perception because it's the heart of this whole thing of the employee experience. Remember, we said employee experience is the sum of the perceptions people have about where they work.
Mm-hmm.
And this brand is super important to that perception. You need to make sure that those perceptions are accurate and that they reflect the type of organization you need and the type of employee experience that you need that will yield the kind of results you want. As an example, if I'm a data warehouse, I'm a data center somewhere.
Yeah.
I want people who are thorough and follow checklists and rules. And so I want my employee value proposition to reflect this kind of secure mentality, by the book type of approach.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not interested in a brand that talks about being free and creative,
innovation, creativity.
I want follow the rules, do as I say, and because that is needed to give confidence to my customers that their data is going to be protected.
Yeah.
And so that's an example where you're aligning the brand with who you want, and then that reinforces the customer experience.
Now, in this chapter, you talk about the brand contract, but there's some indicators of how maybe strongly aligned people are with the brand or with their employee experience. And so some of these were investment in culture, defense of the organization, challenging the status quo, and risk-taking. So those seem a little dangerous, I think, to some managers.
Yeah, I'd like to focus on the second one you touched upon, which is defense of the organization. The most powerful indicator that you have that your brand is working is when you have a review and someone independently and without being asked to defends the organization. Then you know that the water's getting to the end of the row, and you know that someone is hearing you. And the more you see that, the more you have a good positive indicator that people get your message and they like it and they're engaged. And so defense of the organization is always a good sign. You don't see a lot of them, but when you do, it's sort of like finding a diamond in the rough. They're very valuable.
Well, and it goes to how often are your employees recommending your company or bringing in new recruits, right? Your referral program for hiring.
Yep.
So the other one was challenging the status quo and risk taking. That if people feel confident doing that, then they feel pretty attached to the brand and pretty.
And that the brand's authentic.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. They're allowed to. In other words, they have that freedom to kind of exercise that autonomy a bit.
Yeah.
Well, Matt, I want to thank you very much for giving us a brief overview of Chapter 5 of the book, The Employee Experience. We were talking about the brand contract. The Employee Experience is available at all major booksellers. You can also find it on Amazon. And we look forward to having you join us on our next podcast. Thanks, everybody.
Great.